The first day was when I was exercising, I was doing push-ups, and I actually felt a pop behind my left eye. It wasn't alarming, it was like I always think it's like when you blow a bubble with bubble gum and it just goes like that. I just felt a little something like that. Woke up the next day with a bit of a headache, and it got gradually worse, and I don't get headaches, so I popped a couple of Advil and it didn't go away. When I told my wife about the pop behind my left eye, and then I had a second or a third day of a headache, she said, you know, that could be an aneurysm. And I thought, well, that's not a very smart guess, because when you get an aneurysm, a rupture, you just die. 6 days later, after never being able to get rid of this headache, I was at the opening of Patriots training camp. It was July 28th. And I called my boss and I said, you know, I can put the packages together for the early news, but I've called my doctor and he said he'll see me because I've had this migraine, is what I called it, for 6 days. Started to drive to my doctor, who actually has an office at Milton Hospital, and I ended up feeling like I was about to pass out, and I pulled the car off on the side of the road and rolled the car, because when I woke up I could see that I was in the bushes. The EMT was already there. They finally take me to Milton Hospital. Unfortunately, there was a Dr. Mahoney who said that this could be an aneurysm, and they, I believe, did a CAT scan and determined that that's what it was. And so my wife said, okay, you got to get him to Mass General as soon as possible. And the doctor said, well, I actually know a guy who's at Beth Israel who's one of the best there is. And she said, what's his name? And he says, Dr. Ogilvy, Dr. Chris Ogilvy. And so my wife and her friend who had gotten to the hospital get on their phones and they, okay, you can take him there. They Googled Ogilvy, and that was the right call. I spent 17 days in ICU and then was sent home feeling pretty good and talking to my work saying, I think I can get back soon, soon, soon. And then as I was driving around and doing routine things, I was losing my memory. I couldn't remember the passcode to get into the gym that I use all the time. Got lost in Quincy, couldn't figure out how to get home for a little bit. And then they scheduled the third brain surgery for that Monday, and they put a shunt in with a catheter that comes out. Because what was happening was my brain fluid wasn't draining properly. There was damage done to the filters, blood clots and things like that. And so once they did that, it was really fun after the surgery to wake up, and everything I had forgotten the previous week just came to me all of a sudden. So the surgery changed everything and saved my, not my life, because I could have lived, but I certainly couldn't have worked. I couldn't have done what I'm doing now and things like that. It brought me as close to 100% as anybody has a right to expect for themselves. The spectrum is huge, really. I've met people that are still in wheelchairs many years later. Numbers of people who haven't returned to work, have not returned to a normal lifestyle. I have a nurse friend across the street who works at Milton Hospital, and when I returned home and I was doing my laps around the neighborhood, just trying to walk with a cane and the whole bit, she said that they're still talking about you at the hospital because everything that had to happen correctly happened for you to be where you are now. You know, the EMTs out in the field had to treat it properly. The doctor in the emergency room had to do the right things. All the doctors, all the nurses, all the care I got, the procedures and protocols that they go through to make sure that somebody has the best possible result, everybody did the right thing. So I'm very lucky in that respect.